Hey guys, this is Tia from Nail Dip Studio, and I'm excited to bring you today's video. Today's video is all about nail bits and prepping your cuticle. I'm going to do a dry manicure towards the end, but the first part of today's video is simply about understanding your nail bits and selecting the right bits for your hand. So the kit right here that we're looking at, this is a kit that I got off of Amazon. It is a 60-piece nail bit kit. It is a diamond drill bit set that has two 30-piece sets. And I thought this would be really, really good, especially if you're someone who's building out their e-bit kit, like you want to have the right bits for different things. I thought this would be a nice kit, nice starter kit, and it's affordable. I don't think it was over like $35 or so for 60 bits, and you can't beat that, especially if you're doing your nails at home. A lot of these bits can be used in your dry manicure prep, but then they can also be used after post dip manicure to really seal the cuticle area and like seal around or file around the side walls, and to get really a nice polished look, you can use some of these bits to do that as well. Now, what I'm showing and pointing to here is that each one of the bits has a color identifier. And that identifier basically lets you know the size or the grit size and the grit texture of each file. So if it's yellow, it's going to be 240 grit. That's going to be the softest grit that you can have. It's very gentle. So I would say I would use that post dip manicure. So let's say, for instance, after you filed everything off and buffed everything and you've washed your hands, maybe you noticed a little piece of something that wasn't quite filed. I would then use one of those bits that have the yellow rim to polish that off, because it's not going to disturb too much. It's very gentle. Whereas though something that may be in the green category would be 100 grit, and that's going to be a lot rougher. That texture is going to be a lot harsher, and that could potentially cause some damage if you don't know how to properly hold the bit on the nail and on the side walls. So it could be a little troublesome. So you just want to be mindful of that when you're looking at the color key on the set. If you order this set, and I'll leave a link in the description box below. But if you're going to order this set, I would say that the green bits, I would only use that actually on the acrylic, the actual acrylic overlay. I would use that to help sand and file some of that down. But if you have thicker nails and or stubborn cuticles, then I would probably use the 100 bit. But if you don't have that, like if your skin is pretty normal to, I would say, soft, then I would probably stay in the blue, red, yellow category. I would avoid the green if possible. So right now I'm just going to take everything out, and I'm going to play around with pulling out different bits based off of what I think I need. Now, when I say I'm pulling out bits based on what I need, I'm walking through my manicure process, and I'm saying to myself, okay, after I've, washed my hands, I've soaked all of my products off, I've washed my hands, I'm coming back, my cuticles are soft. I did not submerge them in water, so they weren't sitting there, but I did soften them up enough to where I can actually start my dry manicure process. I'm thinking about removing the cuticle film, so I need bits for that. I'm thinking about pushing the skin back, that dead skin that I don't need, and I often have overgrowth, so I need to remove and trim a lot of that skin that's in and around my side walls and the cuticle area. So I'm looking for a bit that will help me push and flip back that skin and get underneath there. So something maybe with a rounded point that's not too sharp. I'm also looking for something that can help with some of the callus. I get calluses on the side from typing and from writing and just doing my own nails, just day-to-day activities. So I want a file, a bit that can actually help address that. I'm also looking for a bit that can get into the side walls as well. I'm looking for a bit that will allow me, after I finish the trimming process of the cuticle and the side walls, to polish that off and basically seal that. Looking for that. I'm looking for a bit that I could use post dip manicure in case I accidentally overlook an area that won't be too detrimental to the finished product. So I need something like that. I need a bit that would allow me to, underneath the free edge, polish that area, because sometimes you can have like some ridges there and some unevenness. So I need something that will allow me to smooth that area underneath there so that I don't have that um, textured or peeking down. So I need something like that. So I'm in that little short observation or explanation, if you will. I'm just thinking about the different steps and procedures that I would go through in doing my manicure and what type of bits that could potentially help me from the kit. And as you can see there, I pulled out a spear, I pulled out the Q-tip, I pulled out the pointed comb, I also pulled out the micro diamond ball. I also pulled out two little, I would say, football bullets, like little small micro bullets. One is a at the 140 grit, and that's the one that has like the blue purple ring, and then the red one is 200, and it's a softer grit, which means that it's not going to be as rough, but I could use that maybe as a secondary polisher if need be. So I'm going through, and this is the other thing I want to stress to everybody. Test the bits out for your nails. You have to. I may have a bit that may work. When I was actually doing nails, I would have, 60 different bits. And every bit doesn't work right on every person. Every person's finger, the skin is different. Somebody's skin may be thicker or coarser than mine, or I may have someone who has maybe a diabetic and their skin is sensitive, and you want to prevent cuts, and so you don't want to have anything that's too that was my email from work. You don't want to have something that's too rough that could potentially cut them. So you want to make sure that you have different bits to support different clients, and or even on yourself. You may have different textures on your fingers. So what you may do on 6 fingers, you may do something completely different on the other 4. So testing and trying out the different bits and getting familiar with them is going to be critical to enhancing your dry manicure application. So now that we've selected, those bits that I'm going to be replacing in my kit, I'm going to also now go and grab my bit kit, and I'm going to start pulling out those bits that I rarely use. I do this a couple of times a month. Well, I would say maybe like once a quarter or so. I will take a stock of my inventory based on the bits that I'm using, which ones am I using the most? Which ones have I just not even touched at all? And then I will replace them with bits that actually make sense. And I think that this is a good way to really start to understand the bits that work right for you. Not everything is for everybody, and sometimes you'll have things that you're not using and not utilizing. So you want to make sure that you have options there, and that the options that you have, that you are thinking about self or your clients when you're swapping out your bits. Right now, I'm testing and rubbing and feeling. And if you notice too, regardless of what, company you go with, they all pretty much have some type of color nomenclature that basically identifies and tells you sort of what each bit is for. So if yellow means 240 in this kit, it's going to mean 240 in another kit. It's going to be a softer grit file, so you don't have to worry about that. And sometimes you will have it actually painted on the bit itself. And in other cases, they will put a rubber band around that bit to also indicate, especially if it's like ceramic, they'll put that rubber band around it to indicate the color and the grit texture for you. So you don't have to worry about that. So again, I'm just going through, looking at my bits and saying, okay, you know what? I don't need this one. I don't need that one. Let's replace that one with this one. This is a 2-in-1. And that Q-tip one, I'm so excited about that one, because I think that it's a multi-purpose bit. Anytime I can get a multi-purpose bit, I want it. It reduces having to have, I would say, 3 bits if I can get it all in one. And that's what you're seeing here. A lot of these bits are like 3-in-1. Again, the spear, the pointed cone, the Q-tip. I'm going to grab and put back in a lot of my diamond, a lot of my football bits, but going in size, you want to just make sure that you are thinking about the procedure that you want to do with your dry manicure and what steps you want to follow. Are you just simply removing the cuticle film? Are you trimming? Are you filing? Are you buffing? Do you have problem areas on your side walls? Do you need something to help polish underneath? As I stated previously, you just want to think about what it is that you're doing. Take a pad, write things down, so that you can sort of have and envision what you need, so that you're selecting the right tools as you go. And one thing I also want to point out is that you'll see me picking up bits and like feeling the tip. I want to feel the texture. I can tell based on it, if it's too coarse, I may not need that. I typically try to go for things that are either soft or have somewhat of some texture, but not anything too crazy, not too rough. So you'll see me feel for that texture. I want you to do the same. I want you to feel, I want you to compare. I want you to put the bits side by side so that you can sort of see, okay, if is this bit the equivalent of that one? Is this too big? Is it something that really fits nicely or complements or um, can be used on my finger? It may be too big. Some instruments may be too big for your finger and it may not give you the best result. So make sure you're testing and feeling and playing around with the bits. And, again, trial and error. You're testing this out for you. So there's no wrong, answer here. What may work for you may not work for me, or it may not be something that I selected, but you may select something out of the kit and say, wow, this really made a difference in my dry manicure. So play around with it, test it out, and feel the texture, see how it feels, and experiment to see if you like that bit better than others. Now that I've replaced put the new bits in, and I have off camera, one of the things that I'm going to do is I sterilize my entire set. So I'll sterilize everything. I'll take those that I just took out of the kit and I'll sterilize those as well. And I'll show you guys in another video how I sterilize my instruments and so on and so forth. But I typically have off camera, I have another set where I put bits that I swap out to the side. That way I don't lose them, because you'll have hundreds of bits, trust me. And then you'll be looking for one and you can't find them. So for me, because I misplace things, I have a separate kit that I use to actually house all of the bits all in one. So let's jump into the dry manicure process. And this is going to be a little bit more detailed. So I'm using a dual-ended cuticle pusher and cuticle remover to help push back the cuticles and to initiate the dry manicure process. And I love using the back end of this scraper. It is just, I love it. I love how it is the first tool, but it is a important tool in my opinion, because it really does help to push and start to lift up any of that film that you're seeing. See how that white cuticle film protein that's coming up? Yeah, you want to push your cuticles back. And I like using this tool on the back end to help do that for me. I'm being very gentle. So what you can do is make sure you go and you wash your hands, put your hands under some water and let that skin get a little soft. And then you can come out and start to really remove your cuticle by pushing it back and using the flat end of the dual-ended cuticle pusher. And I will also link a cuticle pusher option like this in the description box below if anyone is interested. Now that we've pushed everything back, let's grab that eFile, plug everything up, and let's jump into just that, pushing and lifting. And this is my interpretation of a Russian manicure, but I would say it's beginner friendly, if you will. So what I'm doing is I am grabbing a couple of the bits that I think I want to sort of use. I'm going to grab the Q-tip bit. Now, this is important. And the reason why I didn't cut this out, because I wanted you guys to see what I was doing. So I'm using this bit and I'm like, this is not what I want. I need something that's going to really get in there. This is too soft. So I'm literally taking it off, not putting it back, but this is not the right time to use that instrument. I need to use something that has a little bit more texture to it. The micro football, that little small one right there that I was about to grab, I thought, that's too small. Let's grab the one that's one level up. Putting my eFile machine on the setting number 2, so it's very low. I'm going to use this to help move and push back and lift all of that cuticle area up for me. And also too, it's going to help remove a lot of that protein that sort of helps to bond the skin to the nail. It's going to lift that up. You see how I'm getting a different result, all while pushing the cuticle back and shaping that area as well. It's going to allow me to go down the side walls, and I really like this tool. I was like, wow, I really like this. So, and it's friendly and it's gentle. You notice it does not have a pointed end, so I'm not stabbing myself. And I'm actually, the way that this that I'm holding my bit, I'm only focusing on the skin. I'm not filing off any of the nail plate. I am literally removing the cuticle protein from my nail. So I'm pushing all of that back, and I like the way that that sort of, turned out. Using that back end of that scraper, and now going behind that with this particular bit, and this bit is going to be the 140. So it's not quite 100, but it's not as soft. So you're going to get a little bit more movement. You're going to get a little bit more, I would say, flexibility with removing and shaping and forming that perfect smile line. You want that U shape at the back. That's what you're looking for. This bit actually allowed me to do so. Now, it did not, I'm going to say this again, it does not go deep underneath. So you're not getting into the nail matrix or anything like that. So it's not going too deep. It's literally staying where it needs to stay. And I like this. It's like a nice little safeguard. So again, great choice, great option. And I will leave the link below, but I am using this to do, see how it's just literally just eating up all of that? Ooh, like you need this. You need that particular bit. That bit, bee's knees. Okay, so now that we're done with that one, I am now going to grab the, I would say, I'm going to grab the cone, the pointed cone. And I'm going to grab that because I wanted to get into the side walls just a tad bit, just a tad bit. And this grit is 200. And so if you notice, I'm trying to, I haven't used this bit before, so I'm trying to see how should I hold my hand? And again, I didn't cut that out because I want you to see, as I'm trying things, you're trying things, we got to figure out what works best for us. So I am loving, see how, look how it got in that sidewall. Look at it. That's that mom. Look at it. That's that mama. You lose your upper lip. Side note. But it's allowing me to really get some precision. And it's also helping me flip that skin back so I know where I'm cutting. Yeah. I use this to push that skin back. I'm flipping that skin back and cleaning up anything and everything that's underneath there. You see that? Oh, do you see it? Yes. Look at the shape. Like the shape is shaping. Don't play with it. Don't play with it. The shape is shaping. It is. It's in the proof is in the pudding. It's shaping. I love, I'm in love with this bit. I'm gonna order another. Well, correction. By the time this video goes up, I already ordered another set just so that I can have an extra bit like this. This right here, this is a game changer. That with that micro bullet, and wait till you see the Q-tip. Sure. It I'll leave the link in the description box. That's all I got to say. See how it's flipping that skin back? Why is that important? Because it allows you to see what you're cutting. You're not cutting live skin. You're not trimming live skin. You're trimming that skin that's flipped up. You're trimming that skin that's dead. You're trimming that extra, the excess. You're trimming all of that off, and you can see it going up. Notice, remember I said different fingers do different things. Notice my middle finger has a lot more cuticle to clean up and to lift up than my pinky finger. Our bodies are like that. So you want to make sure that you have different tools to address different fingers that may be a little bit more stubborn. My middle finger is stubborn. That area is stubborn. So I have to put a little bit more focus, a little bit more attention to doing my nails. And my dry manicure routine as of today is about 30 minutes, if not maybe 40. And the reason why I say that is because I take my time going in and doing a good job cleaning everything up. I trim technically in like 3 zone areas, and I'll get into that once I start the trimming process. But again, I want you guys to sort of see the process, and you can see this is really edging things out for me nicely, and it is definitely helping me clean up that area and the side wall so that I have a more professional look once I do my dip manicure. Okay, so now that we're done with that, I'm going to grab my nippers. And I prefer to use nippers because it just allows me, I like the thickness of and the rubber component of that's around the nippers when I am trimming. It gives me better control. One thing that I will say to you is before you cut, dust everything off. You don't want to have all of that dust and flyaways on your nails, because it can give you a false sense of reality of what you should cut and what you shouldn't cut. So that's why I like to dust everything off. Take your time. I like to cut in 3 different zones. I cut from the top view, looking down. And what I mean by that is simply this. You see how I'm looking, well, in the video, I am looking at my nail as you're looking at it, straight down. So I'm cutting around, but I didn't go underneath, meaning I didn't cut the area closest to the nail, and I'm going to do that in the second pass. I cut in 2 different zones. Now, that's the way I like to cut my nails. Somebody else may get it all in one swoop. I'm not a one swooper. I'm going to swoop a couple of times just so that I am being very careful and delicate. Now, you see how now my finger is pointed towards me and I'm now underneath. Now you can see that I'm going in and I'm trimming everything that I didn't get on the first pass. You want to take your time. This is why it takes me about 30 to 40 minutes to do my dry manicure, because I'm really focusing on cutting only and trimming only the skin and protein that I no longer need that is on my nail. And I'm taking my time in doing so. I do a once over. If I think I need to come back, I will come back and do some additional trimming. But this is what I do. I like to cut over top, looking dead spot on. And then I flip my finger around and then I go underneath to trim everything under that. And this is what you're seeing here. Now that everything has been trimmed, we're going to go ahead and go in with the actual sanding band. And I'm going to do the safety sanding band to actually start the polishing process for my natural nail. And this is going to take, I would say, I'm using the safety bit that is a 240 bit. And then I'm going to grab my sanding bit that is also 180 and use it to sand and to buff off any additional product that may be on my nails before I jump into the dip manicure. When using the sanding bit like this one, the 180 grit, I like using this to also to help carve out and to finish polishing in and around the sidewalls. If you notice, I'm using the rim of that sanding bit to help polish everything and smooth everything out, and just to catch anything that I didn't get during the initial sanding process. And as you can see, I'm being very gentle, but I am using the back end of that bit to clean and to push and to help shape and mold just a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more refined, if you will. And then I use the bit on the actual nail plate to remove any lingering product that may still be there. Maybe I had some gel, or maybe there was a little bit of the dip acrylic that was still there. So I use that to sand everything off and to remove any texture that may be there as well. But as you can see here, it's giving me a very nice polished and sand filed look. Now that that's all done, I am going to grab the diamond pointed spear, and I'm going to use that to file off the callus areas that I have on my fingers on the sides, as well as any polishing that I may need to do on the sides. And again, I'm focusing that specifically on the sides. I get calluses on the side of my thumb area, my pointed finger, and sometimes I actually get a little callus on my middle finger as well. So I'm just using that to help polish that around. And then um, I'm also using the pointed area there to help sand and help buff any potential hangnails that may be there or may attempt to try to develop because of the trimming aspect of what I did. So I'm using this to really just polish and buff around, but I love this bit. It's really good for your skin, especially if you're just trying to remove any tough, rough areas. This is a nice bit to have to use. Now that we're done, I'm going to grab that Q-tip bit. And remember, I grabbed it in the beginning of the clip. In the beginning of the video. And it wasn't the right bit to have. I think that this is an excellent bit to use, especially if you are wrapping up your dry manicure and you want to polish and seal everything. This basically is used to help sand the skin to prevent any tags or hangnails essentially. And I also like to use it to polish any residual callousy areas that maybe I did not smooth out enough. This allows me to do that. It also allows me to add some additional shaping to that cuticle line and cuticle area so that I really have a nice U shape on my finger. So I absolutely love this bit. If you get it, let me know in the comments how you like it, but I love the Q-tip bit. My life was, I was missing this. This is something that you definitely need. It will take your, especially if you're ending, like if this is the last bit that you're using before you actually move on into the dip manicure, you want to finish with that Q-tip bit. It is so nice. And see, it's a multi-use bit, but it allows you to do so many things because that end is already shaped and it's rounded. You can get in there and still use it similar to how you would do with a circular bit, but because it has the elongated component to it, you can also use the sides to help file down any additional skin. And in my opinion, it's all worth it. So I hope you guys, you know, like that bit, and let me know how, if you get it, how it worked for you. So what I'm going to do at this particular point is I am going to cut my nails down and file those up, and I will actually post the next video, which will be a new dip manicure, introducing a new color that is coming to the line very soon. But thank you again so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it, and until next time, keep dipping. Thanks, guys.